So the reason why I'm not wearing a jacket is because the Ramah says that one of the main halachas of searching for chametz is in your pockets. So it's at home being worked on. It's actually not, but that's my excuse. I have to check the tie as well. That's why I don't have a tie either. But so of course we're approaching Pesach and Shabbos HaGadol this week. Chazal tell us that why is it called Shabbos HaGadol? It says because of the miracle that took place on that Shabbos. That Shabbos was the 10th of Nisan. What happened on the 10th of Nisan? The Torah says, right? Moshe Rabbeinu told the Jewish people, Mishchu ukhu, right? Take an animal, a sheep, tie it to your bedpost 4 days before the Chag, because you have to do bikur, you have to examine for 4 days that the animal should not get a blemish. And then on Erev Pesach, the 14th of the month, you slaughter the animal. So if you work backwards, if they had to bring the Korban Pesach on the 14th and they had to take it and tie it and watch it 4 days prior, that means that everyone took their sheep on the 10th of the month. And it says that the 10th of that month happened to be a Shabbos. This is one of the interpretations. And the Medrash says that of course, you know, the Egyptians worshipped the sheep, the lamb. So they were asking the Jewish people, what are you doing with our gods? What are you doing with our sheep? So they said, we are tying it to our bedpost so that we can examine it, and we're going to slaughter it en masse on the 14th. And they said, what? Why are you going to do that? So they said, because we have to put blood over our doorposts. They said, what for? They said, because you all are going to die on Pesach night, at least all you firstborns. And there were a lot more firstborns than the firstborns thought. Because the Medrash says it wasn't just the firstborn. The oldest of every household died on Makkah's Becharis. The firstborn died. If he had a man that had multiple wives, so then he could have multiple firstborns. So he had a lot more deaths going on that night. So they said, really? So the Bechorim, the Medrash says that all these firstborns, went and they went to Paro. And they said, let them go, we're going to die. He says, no, I'm not letting him go. And then there was a whole fight, and it says that, the firstborn rose up against the Egyptians. That's one of the miracles that took place. The other miracle that took place was, again, the Jewish people having taken the gods of the Egyptians in broad daylight, announcing to everyone that in 4 days we're going to slaughter your gods as a way of earning our redemption. Because, of course, to earn for the Jews to get out of Egypt, right? What do we read in the Haggadah? Ba'at arum ve'eryeh. They were naked of mitzvahs. And Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, there's an admission cost to get out of Egypt. It's Dam Pesach and Dam Milah. You have to all do Bris Milah and you have to do Korban Pesach. And both mitzvot really revolve around the same idea. And that is you have to illustrate a total faith, emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And there's two ways to do that. There's sur meirah, there's removing yourself from evil, and then there's asay tov, and then there's doing good. So the Korban Pesach represents sur meirah, because the Korban Pesach represented the idols of the Egyptians. And Hashem is saying to Moshe, the Jewish people worshipped idols in Egypt, right? As much as I want to take them out, if they don't rise to the challenge and denounce the idolatry of the Egyptians, I can't take them out. And so therefore they had to do something which was very difficult. They had to, in broad daylight, over 4 days, they had to announce that we officially renounce your gods to the degree that we're going to now go and slaughter your gods and eat them. And of course, what's the miracle of Shabbos HaGadol? The Egyptians took it on the chin. They didn't do anything. You'd think that, that if these people they've already suffered so much tzaras from is now going to go and slaughter, right, all of their gods, they're going to rise up and they're going to try to kill the Jews before that happens. They didn't do anything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made sure that they'd be silent. So that was one of the miracles that took place on Yud Nisan, which happened to be on Shabbos. And of course, in the other mitzvah they needed was Bris Milah. Because why? Whereas Korban Pesach is the Jewish way of negating Avodah Zarah, but that doesn't make you Jewish, right? If a non-Jew renounces his Avodah Zarah, what does that make him? A Ger Toshav. Doesn't make him Jewish, right? A Goy who keeps the 7, one of the 7 is to negate Avodah Zarah, to walk away from Avodah Zarah, that doesn't make you Jewish. What makes you Jewish? Bris Milah. So it's not enough to just negate the Avodah Zarah of Mitzrayim. You have to now enter into the covenant of the Jewish people by doing Bris Milah. Kadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm taking the Klal Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. I'm not taking Ger Toshavim, Gerei Toshav. I'm not taking non-Jews out of Egypt. Even holy non-Jews. I'm not taking out of Egypt. I'm taking Klal Yisrael out of Egypt. To be a member of Klal Yisrael is two things. Fundamentally two things. You have to reject all idolatry. And that's what Shabbos is all about as well. That if a person works on Shabbos, that basically shows that he believes in HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not create the world. Because if he believes HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world and rested on the seventh day, he'd keep Shabbos. That's what we say, that there's two people. If a Jew worships idols, or if a Jew desecrates Shabbos in public, he's closed down shop, as they say. In some various halachas, he's deemed to not be Jewish anymore. Obviously, once a Jew, always a Jew. But the idea is that if a person doesn't keep Shabbos, or if a person embraces and practices idolatry, then he's beyond the pale of Klal Yisrael, of the Jewish people, of what the Jewish people believe in. And so therefore, they needed to do Korban Pesach as a Sur Merah to distance themselves from idolatry, to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we don't believe in idols anymore. But that doesn't mean we believe in you. That means we don't believe in idols. Bris Milah says to Hashem, we believe in you. Not only do we not believe in all the nonsense out there, we don't believe in all the foreign philosophies and the foreign theologies, but we believe in you. And that's what we're doing Bris Milah. We want a Brit with you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We want to enter into a covenant with you. And that's how they got out. They didn't do Bris Milah on Shabbos, of course, because you can only do Bris Milah on Shabbos if it actually falls on the 8th day. But it was Shabbos HaGadol began the process of Yetzias Mitzrayim, because that's when they took the Korban Pesach, was on Shabbos HaGadol. So that's why the whole theme, the simcha and the appreciation, the excitement of Pesach really starts on Shabbos HaGadol. So that's why many people have the minhag to read the Haggadah on Shabbos HaGadol, because you're supposed to, in some aspect, already get into the themes of Pesach on Shabbos HaGadol, because really the themes of Pesach started on Shabbos HaGadol. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, wow, this year we had our own Shabbos HaGadol. We had our Motzei Shabbos HaGadol. We had a Motzei Shabbos HaGadol. Didn't work out on the same Shabbos as Shabbos HaGadol. It worked out last Motzei Shabbos. But it's an amazing thing, right? We experienced a Motzei Shabbos which was indeed Gadol Me'od. It was indeed great and phenomenal. What was great about it? The fact that we're alive and that we survived 300 weapons of destruction sent over by the most bitter of all enemies that has vowed to destroy us, Iran. They were real weapons. I think the euphoria, for those that managed to sleep a little bit last Motzei Shabbos, the anxiety of going to sleep, for those that managed to fall asleep, it was probably a fitful sleep, but the anxiety of going to sleep while these missiles are coming over, not knowing what you're going to find, if you're going to wake up the next morning, and if you wake up, what you're going to wake up to, and then you wake up in the morning, and you look at the news, and you look around, and nothing happened. Okay, a couple fell here and there, but for the most part, we were unscathed. That was unbelievable. The euphoria that we all felt was something gadol. It really was great. And Chazal tell us, Nigal and Benisan Atid Ligael. Right? We all know that Medrash says Mashiach will come in Nisan. Nisan is a time for miracles. That's why it's called the month of Nisan. It's not called the month of Nisim. It's called the month of Nisan, which means that the month is a month of miracles. The DNA of this month has the DNA of miracles built into it. And we saw, again, whether you say it's like a miracle on the level of Kriyas Yamsuf, or you say it's a miracle on the level of the 6-Day War, or you say it's a miracle on some other level, certainly it was a miracle. How impressed you are with the miracle, every person, is impressed, each to his own level. But I found that it was really quite an impressive display of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's protecting Am Yisrael, of course, with a lot of help from the IDF and from Jordan and from America and even Saudi Arabia, I understand, tipped off the Israelis a bit. So, we could acknowledge that as well. The British as well. Yeah. an alliance that all of a sudden came to the defense of Israel, which in and of itself is very impressive. But certainly it was a Motzei Shabbos HaGadol, and it's very clear and easy to see a Kadosh Baruch Hu working his protective powers. Therefore, I think that we've already entered into the excitement of Pesach. And when we come into the Seder and we get to the verse, B'chol dor vador chayiv adam liras es atzmo ki'ilu hu yatzim mitzrayim. So you don't have to go back 3,500 years and say to yourself, wow, how am I going to feel? How am I going to tap into that feeling that I was saved tonight? This year we could certainly relate to it so much more, I think, than any other year. Even, let's say, the euphoria that was felt for those that were here in 1991 by the Gulf War. When did the Gulf War end? On Purim. There was a tremendous euphoria that year. In 1991. The fact that there was a Hatzal on Purim was amazing. But I think that this is even more amazing. The fact that the Yeshua, and again, it's a partial Yeshua. Be'ez Hashem will see the full Yeshua very, very, very soon, in this month of Nisan. Be'ez Hashem. But again, the idea that it happened in Nisan is no coincidence. It's an amazing thing. That in Nisan we said, the Chazal told us 2,000 years ago, that we will see miracles once again in the month of Nisan. We definitely saw some on Vav Nisan, on Sunday morning. Be'ez Hashem, we should just continue to pray and to daven and to have that passion and excitement to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we should be deserving not just of that miracle that we were saved from the missiles of Iran, but we should be zoichet to all the miracles that Chazal have envisioned, have prophesied for us, with the building of the Beis HaMikdash, with the full Geula B'mher B'yameinu. Amen.